What if what you feel is not a weakness, but simply another way of being alive? Welcome to the Highly Sensitive People channel. Here to help you understand yourself better, embrace who you are, and truly flourish. If this resonates with you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. There is a simple, natural tool for regulating your nervous system that is yours to use at all times, requiring no special equipment, no digital apps, and no prior training whatsoever. It is available to you at any moment, in any situation, whether you are in a tense meeting, commuting on public transport, or lying awake in the middle of a long, sleepless night. This simple tool is your own breath. You see, breathing is actually the only mechanism within the autonomic nervous system that we are able to control in a truly voluntary way. When a highly sensitive person's nervous system goes into overdrive due to sensory overload, intense emotion, or a stressful situation, it switches to sympathetic mode, the mode of alarm and reaction. Slow, deep breathing is the most direct way to bring it back to parasympathetic mode, the mode of calm and recovery. This mechanism has a precise neurological explanation. Controlled breathing stimulates the vagus nerve, that major nerve cable connecting the brain to the heart, lungs, and digestive organs, and which is the primary regulator for returning to a state of calm. Within just a few short minutes of dedicated practice, your heart rate begins to noticeably slow down. Your tense muscles finally start to relax. The amygdala, which acts as our emotional alarm center, slowly gives way to the calm of the prefrontal cortex, and that turbulent inner storm finally begins to subside. There are 3 specific breathing techniques that stand out for their well-documented effectiveness for highly sensitive people. Each one of these methods addresses a completely different personal need. The first one is known as heart coherence. Inhale deeply through your nose for 5 seconds, then slowly exhale through your mouth for 5 seconds. You should practice this for 5 minutes, 3 times a day, in the morning, at noon, and at night. Consistency is the absolute key to this process. When practiced daily, cardiac coherence produces a measurable, cumulative effect on your baseline anxiety and emotional reactivity. This is the core method, the one that gradually recalibrates the nervous system over time. The second is the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 7 seconds, and exhale slowly through the mouth for 8 seconds. This specific technique proves to be particularly effective before facing a dreaded situation, such as public speaking, a difficult confrontation, or an environment known to be quite overwhelming. It is also truly remarkable for helping you to drift off to sleep whenever your hypersensitive brain simply refuses to shut down. The third one, validated by Stanford neuroscience, is the physiological sigh. 2 quick, short inhales through the nose, one after the other, without exhaling in between, followed by a long, slow, full exhale through the mouth. It is the fastest technique known to date for lowering acute stress levels. When feeling overwhelmed, it can work in less than 30 seconds. When a hypersensitive nervous system is completely overloaded, it is caught in a double storm, overwhelmed by both internal stimuli, racing thoughts and surging emotions, and external stimuli like loud noise, bright light, and constant pressing demands. It is a truly self-perpetuating downward spiral. The more you dwell upon this state of overload, the more intense and overwhelming it inevitably becomes. Sensory grounding is a technique designed to break this spiral by deliberately redirecting your attention to simple, concrete, and immediate perceptions. It's not about denying what you're feeling, but about putting it on hold for a moment and returning to your body, away from the stream of thoughts that amplifies your distress. And for highly sensitive people, nature is the most powerful grounding environment there is. Studies conducted in Japan, Finland, and the United States all point to the same results. 20 minutes in a natural environment reduces cortisol levels by 20 to 30%. Your heart rate begins to slow down, and your blood pressure starts to drop. And for those who are highly sensitive, whose nervous systems are wired to react with a particularly high level of intensity to their surrounding environment, these physiological effects are consistently amplified when compared to the average person. Nature doesn't just merely pretend to offer a sense of calm, it truly does calm you down in ways that are biologically and measurably proven. Sensory grounding can be practiced anywhere, though the forms it takes vary depending on the context. The best known and most immediately applicable technique is the 5-4-3-2-1 protocol. In any situation of sensory overload, you mentally name 5 things you see around you. 4 sounds you can hear, 3 textures you can touch, 2 scents you can smell, and 1 taste. This sensory inventory will instantly shift the focus of your attention away from your internal thoughts and back to reality, moving you from the past and the future directly into the present moment of now. For those who have access to nature, the practice of forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku, as it was formalized by Japanese researchers, is a truly and remarkably effective way to ground yourself in the world. It is not about going for a hike or getting exercise. It is about walking at a slow, deliberate pace for 30 to 40 minutes with no goal and without a phone, focusing your attention on the sensory details of your surroundings, the rough bark of a tree, the sound of the wind in the leaves, or the smell of damp earth. And for times when nature isn't accessible, a simpler grounding technique will do. Place your bare feet on the floor and feel the contact point by point. Hold an object with an interesting texture in your hands. Slowly drink a glass of cold water, focusing all your attention on the sensation. These micro-anchors, when practiced regularly, train the brain to return to the present more easily and quickly. There is a fundamental misunderstanding about meditation that discourages many highly sensitive people before they've even begun. This misunderstanding can be summed up in 3 words: emptying your mind. Clearing the mind. For a hypersensitive brain that is constantly processing, perceiving everything, and connecting all the dots, this is not only a difficult directive, but often a counterproductive one. Trying to force silence creates additional tension. And failing to do so reinforces the belief that you're doing it wrong. Mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind. It's about observing what's happening, thoughts, sensations, emotions, with curiosity and without judgment, rather than being overwhelmed by them or trying to control them. This observer stance creates a cognitive distance between the stimulus and the automatic reaction, and it is precisely this distance that is transformative. Neuroimaging studies are clear. 8 weeks of regular mindfulness practice reduce the volume of the amygdala and strengthen the connections between it and the prefrontal cortex. For those who are highly sensitive, this translates in practical, everyday terms to a noticeably reduced reactivity to external stimuli, a much better tolerance for uncertainty, and a significant, measurable decrease in rumination. You know, that constant, exhausting mental loop that keeps revisiting past events just to analyze them over and over again. Ultimately, meditation doesn't actually calm the highly sensitive brain by simply making it less sensitive. It teaches you to navigate complexity without feeling overwhelmed. Mindfulness can be practiced at any scale, from formal sessions to micro moments integrated throughout the day. And for highly sensitive people, this second approach is often the most effective in the short term. Mindful micro breaks, for starters. 3 conscious breaths before replying to a message. Take a minute to focus on your physical sensations before heading into a meeting. Look out the window for 30 seconds, focusing only on what you see. These small intentional breaks gradually train your brain to return to the present moment instead of getting caught up in a stream of thoughts. Next, the body scan, a practice particularly well suited for HSPs, whose connection to their body is often strong but not consciously realized. While lying down, gradually focus your attention on each part of your body, from head to toe, without trying to change anything. Just observe. This 10 to 20-minute practice before sleep significantly reduces difficulty falling asleep caused by rumination. And for auditory HSPs, who are often the most common, sound meditation is a valuable gateway. Instead of seeking silence, we deliberately let all the surrounding sounds in and observe them without labeling them. This approach transforms what was a source of overload into an object of practice, and it's a revolution in how we relate to the world of sound. After a busy day, or even after a few hours in a stimulating environment, a highly sensitive person's nervous system doesn't automatically shut down when the environment changes. It continues to process, it continues to reason. Decompression rituals are physiological necessities for a highly sensitive nervous system. A decompression ritual is a sequence of intentional, repeated activities that send a clear, recognizable signal to the autonomic nervous system. The time for effort is over. You can let go. The consistency of this signal is just as important as its nature. A ritual practiced every evening at the same time eventually triggers a Pavlovian relaxation response. The nervous system learns to recognize the signal and anticipates the relaxation. The biological effects are measurable. Carefully selected and intentional decompression rituals effectively lower your body's cortisol levels, soothe and relax muscles that have become tightened by significant built-up tension, significantly boost the natural production of both serotonin and oxytocin, while, in the case of heat-based rituals, they trigger vasodilation, which directly assists in calming and relaxing your entire autonomic nervous system. For highly sensitive people, establishing these rituals isn't self-indulgence. It's essential neurological maintenance. Effective decompression rituals all share one common trait. They require little cognitive energy, demand nothing from the practitioner, and engage the senses in a gentle, predictable way. Here are the 4 most well-documented and accessible forms. Start with a mindful steaming hot bath or shower, not as a basic hygiene routine, but as a deliberate, calming transitional ritual. Enjoy the hot water, dimmed lights, and no notifications, with your attention focused exclusively on the sensation of the water against your skin. The intense heat of the water triggers vasodilation, which physically reduces the tension within your nervous system. Spending 15 to 20 minutes in the water allows for a state of complete decompression. This is then followed by a period of auditory decompression. 20 to 30 minutes lying down, motionless, in silence, or with music chosen for its regulating effects. Nature sounds, binaural frequencies, slow classical music. Please understand, this is certainly not wasted time. Rather, it is the essential time that a hypersensitive nervous system requires to fully process everything the day has triggered. You should also try brain dumping as well. Take 10 to 15 minutes to simply jot down, without any structure or editing, every single thought that is currently occupying your mental space at the very end of the day. Our thoughts, our emotions, tensions, and the unspoken. The goal isn't to produce anything, but to offload the cognitive burden, to get it out of your brain so it can rest. And finally, gentle movement, restorative yoga, slow stretching, qigong. These practices combine mindful movement, breathing, and proprioception to release the muscle tension that a hypersensitive body builds up throughout the day. So far, we've explored self-regulation methods you can practice on your own: breathing, grounding, meditation, and rituals. But there is a 5th path, perhaps the most deeply human of all, and often the most powerful: regulation through connection. The human nervous system was not designed to regulate itself in total isolation. It is fundamentally and deeply social. From birth, our nervous system learns to calm down through contact with another human being whose presence feels genuinely safe: a parent, a partner, a friend, or perhaps a therapist. Neuropsychologists call this capacity for mutual regulation co-regulation, and for highly sensitive people whose nervous systems are particularly reactive to social cues and the emotions of others, co-regulation can be the fastest and most complete tool for returning to a state of calm. Reassuring physical contact, such as a long, warm hug, a gentle hand placed upon the shoulder, or a massage, triggers the immediate release of oxytocin, known as the bonding and security hormone, and it directly activates the vagus nerve. The profound feeling of being truly understood and not judged by a caring presence reduces amygdala reactivity much faster than solitude ever could. A secure bond is a powerful form of medicine, and it is the only kind that you cannot take entirely on your own. Relational regulation takes many different forms, and not all of them require the actual physical presence of another human being. A long, lingering embrace, for starters. The scientific research is quite clear on this specific point. A warm hug lasting at least 20 seconds is absolutely necessary to trigger a truly significant release of oxytocin. Meanwhile, short hugs of less than 6 seconds might have a social effect, but they lack that same hormonal impact. If you are fortunate enough to have people you truly trust in your life, learning how to ask for a genuine, long, and completely unhurried hug is one of the simplest and most powerful acts of self-care available to you. And then, of course, there is the comforting presence of animals. Petting a pet for 10 to 15 minutes measurably lowers cortisol and blood pressure. Studies on animal-assisted therapy confirm effects comparable to certain forms of meditation, and the presence of an animal offers something that human relationships cannot always guarantee: availability, without expectations, without judgment, without complex dynamics. Regulative talk, which is sharing your thoughts with a friend just to be heard rather than seeking advice, is a powerful form of co-regulation. A gentle, kind voice stimulates the vagus nerve, which helps to calm your nervous system. When you are in solitude, try the practice of self-touch. Place one hand on your heart, and the other hand resting softly on your belly. Please maintain this pose for about 2 to 3 minutes while you breathe in a slow and steady way. This simple gesture triggers measurable physiological responses, a lower heart rate and muscle relaxation that partly mimics the effects of human contact. Because sometimes the nervous system just needs to feel it isn't alone, even when no one else is around. 5 methods, several concrete ways to practice them, and one truth that runs through them all. Regulating your own hypersensitive nervous system is not meant to be a correction. It is not a way to try and become someone else, to feel any less or to be any less. It's simply learning to care for a neurology that processes the world differently, with more depth, more intensity, more presence, and which in return needs care that brains that process less simply don't need. These 5 methods are not mutually exclusive. They complement each other. Some days, it's breathing that saves you. Other days, it's the forest. Still others, it's simply being held by someone who understands. Nervous system regulation is a learning process, not a state you reach once and for all. There will be days when everything overflows again, when no technique seems to work, and when sensitivity takes over completely. And on those days too, there is something you can do. Remember that it's not a failure, it's the normal functioning of an extraordinary nervous system. And start again tomorrow. Let us know in the comments which method works best for you or if you have others to share. Take care of yourself.